Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Good afternoon to my friends and to the overall Camden audience. We have some breaking news in the city of Camden today. Earlier today, Allison Steele of the Philadelphia Inquirer wrote a story that Mayor Frank Moran, who has been mayor for now 3.5 years, almost 3.5 years, is resigning due to health problems. We're going to dig into this to figure out what is the legacy of Frank Moran, what does this mean for the Democratic Party, what does this mean for the upcoming election, and most importantly, what does this mean for us as residents? There's so much going on in our city. There's economic uncertainty, the impact of COVID-19. Will schools open or not? So do what my friends are doing. Please share this video. Share this video right now. Hit the share button, start a watch party, send it to your friends, and we're going to get underway. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Sean Brown, and I am the Urban Disruptor, host of Urban Disruptors Weekly Wrap Up. Normally, we're coming to you Sunday mornings live at 10 a.m. from WCMD Media Studios at our home at Dare Academy. But today, I'm in the comfort of my home during this breaking news time. I wanted you to know, how does this impact your life? Politics is interesting. What's more interesting is the influence of government in making our everyday lives better and not get in the way of whatever it is that we want to do. So please watch this video, share it, tune in, let your friends and family know. I'm coming to you live on Facebook, on my page, Urban Disruptors Weekly Wrap Up, also WCMD Media Facebook page, and WCMD Media on YouTube. So ask your questions, and certain people, some of you, if you want to be a guest on the show and ask some questions and give your insight, I will put the link in the comments now. We're going to put the link in the comments right now. You can click that link if you choose to be a part of the show, and click the link. You'll be in the waiting room until I call you on, and then we can have a conversation for minutes. Make sure you have good lighting. Make sure we can hear you clearly. Have good internet connection so it is a good interview. I know some of you have some questions and have some insights into what is going on. So thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for sharing this video. I'm going to give you as much as I can. What I'm going to say is going to be based off of facts, what we know for sure. Obviously, there will be more information that comes out day by day. And I want to give a shout out to Allison Steele for getting the scoop. Allison covered Camden full time for a few years. She comes from an award-winning journalist family, and she's a good reporter. So congratulations on that scoop. I'm not a journalist. I'm a commentator. I'm a pundit. I'm a man that hosts a show that uses a platform to give his opinion and give some insight, but that is based off of facts and information. So I have a small audience behind me. They're helping me out. Thank you to my friends that are helping me with this today. You think I should get started with the stuff, or build an audience? Yeah. All right, so we're gonna get started. So Francisco Frank Moran. First, on a personal level, I have known Mayor Moran since the year 2001. How many years is that? 20 years we've known each other, because I met him as a 19-year-old going to city council meetings when he was represented the 3rd ward, actually where I live now in East Camden. So Frank Moran will tell you, he tells his story himself. I can just tell you what he's told us as a public. Frank Moran is a husband, he is a father, and he got to start as a young Democrat in the Democratic Party in the early 90s. He was there with Dana Red, with Angel Fuentes, other people where, if you were here in Camden, names in politics that you've heard over the years. Frank was a truck driver, and he got involved in politics in the Democratic Party, eventually ran for office and won, representing the 3rd ward, which is East Camden, and ascended his way on to being city council president, mostly during the time that Dana Red was mayor. Dana Red was mayor in Camden from January 2010. She served an 8-year term, and Frank Moran was the president during that time. Dana did not run for a 3rd term. Frank Moran got her support and ran in what year were we in? We're in 2020. It ran in 2017. I was actually a part of that campaign in that I supported Ray Lamboy, Quinzel Bethea, Namibia L, and Tracy Tracy Hall Cooper in running against Frank Moran and his team a few years ago because of some concerns that I had from the Red administration from what he did on council. Nonetheless, Frank won. I gotta say, Mayor Frank Moran and I, we've met twice in his office, along with Angela, and talking to Mayor Moran one-on-one. He's listening, he listens, he engages. However, maybe he hasn't had enough meetings over the last few years. And when we get to his legacy, we could talk about that. So ask your questions, put it in the comments. My friends are gonna help me out. Let's see if we can get some answers. What we know is that the mayor is saying that he resigned for health reasons. We have a history of political resignations in Camden, and I just want to talk about that for a minute. So over the years, former councilman and former assemblyman Arthur Barclay, also and affectionately known as OG, a man who happens to be just a few months older than me. OG resigned from the state assembly a few years ago. OG also resigned from council because he got to the assembly. Scott McCrae was a freeholder, now known as a commissioner. Scott, my former neighbor, was a freeholder. He resigned from his seat. Many more years ago, Ali Slonell, as a council member representing the 2nd Ward at the time, he resigned from his seat. So there is a history of resignations in our. There's a history of resignations in our city, and it looks like we have another resignation. The timing couldn't be better. The timing couldn't be better. I have no idea what is going on in the mind of Frank Moran. I have not talked to him. I have not talked to anyone on his team, and I don't want to pretend that I have. What I will say is what I know for sure is that in the first week of April, so around 30 days from now, the petitions are due if you want to run for office in the primary for Camden. Frank Moran would have, if he wanted to run for a re-election again, he and his team of people running for council would have to turn their petitions in the first week of April to run as Democrats for the June primary. They would be Democrats running against the other Democrats, and then they would run for election again if they won in November, running against Republicans, if there are any, and or independents, again, if there are any. The real election in our system of government is in June because the person that wins the Democratic primary is most likely to be the person who wins the general election in November and then becomes the mayor. In our city, we've only had one person, and I believe in the last 10 years, that was not in the Democratic Party or endorsed by the Democratic Party who has won. And that is Elton Custis, who ran for school board in 2020. Elton Custis ran for school board in 2019, in November 2019, and won in the same elections that Fabio Leyva Martinez, Naima Gillespie, 2/3 beautiful and wonderful people. But he was able to penetrate that political wall and win that election. Other than that, the only people that have won elections in a decade are people that have been endorsed by the City of Camden Democratic Party. The co-chairs of the City of Camden Democratic Party are Angel Fuentes, who is up for re-election this year, and Curtis Jenkins, who is also up for re-election this year. Curtis Jenkins is also the current City Council president. If usual politics persisted, then Frank Moran would have run for re-election with Sheila Davis, Angel Fuentes, and Curtis Jenkins also running for re-election for City Council. The information I have and what my observations tell me is that the political establishment for the last few years has been greatly disappointed in the leadership, if we can even use that word, coming from Frank Moran. Now, I made a video about Frank Moran in June. It kind of went viral. I talk about this on my show, Urban Disruptors Weekly Wrap Up. There are a few good and bad things that I want to say I think about when I think about the legacy of Frank Moran. The first is probably, I think the best thing that I've seen him do was that during the height of COVID, he was giving the community information in English and in Spanish on Facebook on almost a daily basis. Those videos usually got around 1,000 views. sometimes more. On that issue in particular, the fire was under his feet. He was passionate, he was excited, he was connecting people to resources, going live from his office. Another part of his legacy is maybe the cooking shows that he did, where we got to see Frank Moran's cooking skills. Frank Moran became a vegetarian early into his term, lost some weight, and was getting his health on track. Another part of his legacy is in the heat of the debate between Governor Phil Murphy and Connor Strong Buckaloo, President / Cooper Hospital Chairman George E. Norcross III, when Murphy and Norcross were going head to head over the Economic Opportunity Act and tax incentives of corporations that got money. When they were going at it, Frank Moran told the governor that he was not invited to Camden. Frank Moran told the governor he's not invited to Camden. Now, not only is that strange for one person, one Democrat to say that to another Democrat, it's also strange in the city that gets more financial aid, more financial assistance than any other municipality, any other city in New Jersey. It was highly unusual for a mayor to publicly say that. I think the mayor realized this a few weeks later. He had a private dinner with the governor's chief of staff, and the governor has been in Camden several times since that's happened. Now, the first time the governor came back to Camden, he was toured by Amir Khan, former candidate for mayor back in 2013. Amir Khan is on the short list of people who may run for office again this year in 2021. So when Governor Murphy came to Camden, Governor Murphy came straight to Parkside and was toured around Camden by Pastor Khan, Roger Dickerson, and other people who some would call people that are in the opposition, the political opposition. Governor Murphy came a few more times. He was here just a few weeks ago for an announcement about, what was it about? Oh yeah, thank you. The transportation center with the grant that the federal grant and state money that we're going to rebuilding the transportation center. He was also here to talk about vaccines a few weeks prior. The city of Camden and the Department of Community Affairs and the governor's office will always have a working relationship until the taxpayers of Camden contribute really and ends up being over $100 million more in taxes, which will not happen anytime soon. Another thing that sticks out with Mayor Moran is when Dr. Singh, the president of Haltech, insulted the workforce of Camden, calling people lazy and the children of drug addicts. When that happened, the mayor demanded an apology. And let me be clear, we never got that apology. In fact, Dr. Singh doubled down on his comments in a second interview. And the only, as far as I know, Leap Academy is the only institution that's benefited from Haltech even being here. Being mayor of Camden is a really hard job. You have to answer to the governor, Department of Community Affairs. You have to have an excellent working relationship with the county commissioners because of the amount of shared services that the county has with the city. You have a state monitor, which has to approve hires and the spending of certain money. And then the mayor also has to answer to the overall public, to the members of the party, has to get approval of certain things from city council. And to put on top of that, has to deal with the unique Democratic establishment, which George Norcross, Donald Norcross, Philip Norcross, Steve Askew, Susan Vasilevin, Chris Calori, and name after name of people who for the most of their lives did not live in Camden. George Norcross is a Camden resident now in the last few years. But before that, people who didn't live in Camden, who may have had the interest of the city or South Jersey or the county at heart in certain ways, but the mayor has a lot of people to answer to. Some of the people that he did not answer to were just general members of the public. The most common critique I hear of Frank Moran since he began is, where is he? Not to give this guy too much sauce, because I'm smarter, brighter, and better looking than him, but Elton Custis put this on Facebook a few months ago. Where's Frank Moran? I think I shared it, and a lot of people were on there agreeing. What you didn't see is a lot of people defending what's going on here. Listen, if Mayor Moran truly resigned because of health concerns, I pray for his health. I hope that he feels better. I do. That has nothing to do with the fact that I'm disappointed in the leadership that Frank Moran and his team, including Jason and Angela and Vince, have brought to Camden. He was not up for the job. It was too difficult for him. He was pulled in too many directions. He was not willing to hire the most talented people who understand economic development, urban strategies, community development, housing development, and we just had, oh, hey friend, you want some fire and brimstone? One of my friends said, bring the fire and brimstone. Here it is right now. And we just had a neighborhood that was full of smoke. People were poisoned in their own homes. And Mayor Moran tells those people who are coughing, who are choking, that the city did everything that they could do, everything that they were supposed to do. Go to 4th and Ferry and tell them that. I know the Camden audience, 6th and Ferry. I know if I have to say 6th and Ferry to keep my street credit. Go to 6th and Ferry and tell them that. Go tell people that they couldn't breathe. They couldn't figure out where to go. Now, did certain people step up in that situation? Absolutely, people stepped up. Hotel rooms are open. Flyers are put on doors. But is that as good as we can do? It is not. So I'll never say that these people are doing nothing. I know that Frank was working hard on. He was on the phone. He was in people's faces. He was on conference calls. I understand that these things happen. But I also understand that what happened was not enough. And as I told my friends that live in that neighborhood, all you need to do is look at FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, a federal agency. FEMA has a checklist for what to do when you have a local disaster. My cat's moving the tripod. And if you look at that checklist of what's supposed to happen and compare it to what did happen, you'll see that a lot of those boxes were not checked. And we're at a point in Camden where I'm 38. When I was born, Randy Primus was mayor. From the time I was born until today, in 38 years, I want to ask a question for you, my audience, and you can feel free to put it in the comments. In the last 38 years, have we had a mayor that truly speaks for the people, who truly stands up for us and fights against corporate powers that poison us, suburban interests that uses us for our urbanness, but denies us of other opportunities? Mayor Moran, what is his legacy? Mayor Dana Red, what is her legacy? Mayor Gwen Faison, what is her legacy? Mayor Milan, what is his legacy? Mayor Aaron Thompson, what is his legacy? Apparently it's pretty good if I ask my Uncle Swat. Mayor Arnold Webster, what is his legacy? And Mayor Randy Primus, what is his legacy? Am I missing anybody? Was there anybody between Webster and Primus? Did I get them all? Okay. These are decent people. These are decent people, kind people. But what we see in Camden is that kindness is not enough to lead. That being Mayor Moran, he's not a disrespectful person. I've never heard him raise his voice. I don't even think I've even heard him curse before. He does behind the doors with a few folks, but whatever, that's his business. I appreciate his kindness. I'd rather him be a jerk and an asshole and get more things done. If you want to see a strong mayor, look at the people who work with him. He has a few of these people that work with him are nice people. And they go to work, I'm sure, working 40 hours or more and thinking they've done something. Just the other day, I was looking at Frank Moran's website, the city's website, and the Facebook page. I couldn't find the basic information of what I need to get a vaccine. Even though his folks, I got 3 texts from his folks in last week saying, do I need a vaccine? And so now I'm like, okay, yes, but I need more information to give my friends and stuff. I need a flyer or something. Because they're going to say, well, where, when? What's the process? How do I sign up? So I go to the website. Nothing. Come on, Vince. Vince, you find an image. You right click. When you right click, you click save as JPEG. And then it's going to be in your downloads folder. Then you go to the website and you log in. And then you click the little image button. And then you go, and when you click the image button, all the files are going to come up that you just saved. And then you go to the downloads folder. And you click the image that you didn't have to design because somebody else already put it up. And you click enter and then publish on the top right. Don't forget to hit publish because it saves, but that doesn't mean you have to hit publish when you do a website too. and then it's on the website. This is an exercise that takes 2 minutes, but we care so much about power and so little about people that the vaccine distribution becomes an exercise of politics. We got to make certain people happy. We got to justify the need there. Okay, this is a natural occurrence in human dynamics in politics, and I understand that. But what about the other part of it? Well, how do people want to get there? How do people sign up for it? What is the eligibility? Sean Brown is 38 and healthy. Can he get the vaccine in March, or should he wait until the summertime? We're in the middle of an economic crisis. If it wasn't for what Governor Murphy did last week, starting on March 15th, thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people's power utilities would have been cut off in a couple of weeks. We're going to be facing an evictions crisis. We're going to be facing an evictions crisis in a few months because there's a moratorium for people who cannot afford to pay their rent. What is the housing policy in Camden? The house right on the other side of this wall has been vacant since I lived here. It was vacant. There are plenty of people living inside of it, though. What if I want to buy this property? How do I do it? Go to the Camden Redevelopment Agency website. And if you can find a list or methods or techniques of how to buy city-owned property or CRA-owned property, how to buy that lot that's across the street from your house, how to buy that vacant house, if we are not building wealth in our own community, who is going to come and do it for us? You think Warren Buffett's going to come and give a workshop to people in the city of Camden because we're the poorest city in America? The duty of the mayor is not to just be this nice guy that wears a suit and a nice tie and occasionally says something about something. These two young gangsters, try to get this young man that they had beef with out his house and ended up shooting and killing his grandma. Any decent human being has empathy for that grandmother. She did not deserve to die. But in this city, we do not have the type of leadership from men. We don't have the type of leadership from men, supposedly heterosexual, strong men. They don't show up. They don't say anything about these issues. And that leadership rolls downhill, and that leadership starts with our mayor. How do you have young men killing a grandma and we don't have anything to say about it in the city of Camden? Because now if you go to the streets and you ask them, can you kill somebody's grandma to get them out? You're going to have some say, yeah, hell yeah. Because they never had any, their dad's not telling them what the rules are. Their uncles aren't telling them. The coach somehow never brought it up. The teacher is virtual. Who is going to deliver these messages to our young people? All right, I'm going to take a pause and see, are there any comments I should be aware of? So thank you so much for tuning in. If you're just coming into this, I'm Sean Brown. I'm live at home talking about the breaking news from today that Mayor Frank Moran has announced his resignation due to health issues. Are there any comments? One here? Okay. You look at my phone. If you want to come on and talk live, you can just click the link. If you want to talk live, you can just click the link and you can see it. If you have any questions about what this process is or whatever, let me know. Please share this. If you're watching this, please share it. I want to read this. Hendrix Afanador, who is a frequent fan, says, personally, one thing I was disappointed with was when Mayor Moran advocated against residents having the ability to vote for an elected school board. Great point. Let's talk about that. I understand maybe he preferred to appoint people he deemed the best fit, but it felt undemocratic and disenfranchised residents' voices and an ability for self-determination. Hendrix, I think that is extremely well said. I completely agree with you. And let me say a few things about this because he's done this in a few different ways. Frank's first mistake was when he was city council president, he bowed down to this stupid way we do politics in Camden, where none of the elected officials ever publicly disagree with anything. So not to say he never disagreed with what Dana Red and Novella Henson were doing in those 8 years, but you never heard him say anything about it publicly, and he never voted no against anything. He believed this is my perception, he believed his job to be a facilitator of city council meetings and then to vote in support of whatever the administration brought forth. And I'm sure he would say, that's the perception, that's not the reality. I had my inside fights. I never shared that with the public. Okay, I get it. I understand. I'm still unimpressed. That could probably just lay back. I think it'll be okay. So the point that Hendricks is pointing out, that I think is a valid one. So when Gwen Faison was mayor, as you may remember, when Gwen Faison was mayor and Jim McGreevey was governor, they passed a law that was known as the Municipal Recovery and Economic Revitalization Act, MRERA, Municipal Recovery and Economic Revitalization Act. What Ms. Sutton used to call Mr. Era, and I call it MRERA, was the name of the law. That law said that the mayor did not have full power. They were going to put a COO in charge. That law also said that the governor would appoint 3 people to the school board, the mayor would appoint 3 people to the school board, and the voters would appoint 3 people to the school board. Fast forward, 2009, John Corzine runs for re-election and loses. Dana Red runs for mayor and wins. On John Corzine's way out and Dana Red's way in, they amend that legislation, and instead of taking away most of the powers from the mayor, they give the mayor even more power. In giving the mayor more power, one of the things they do is say the mayor can now appoint all members of the school board for 5 years. 2010, she made one of the best decisions she's ever made in her life when she appointed me to the school board, as well as Ray Lamboy and Catherine Blackshear. 5 years later, in 2015, we were supposed to have, now the voters were to decide, do we want the mayor to select our school board members, or do we want the voters to select our school board members? She never triggered that action as mayor. I then started a petition drive. I made the mistake of starting a petition drive in a local election year. So a lot of people just went to their own political corners. People didn't trust each other, whatever it is. I made a mistake there with the petition drive. It was not successful. Keith Benson, the CEA president, and man, I strongly disagree with many things, had a better strategy than I did on this one. And in that, he gathers a group of people who sue for their right to determine whether they want an elected or appointed school board. I was in the courtroom the day the judge made the decision. I recorded it. The judge insults the entire people of Camden and say that an elected school board doesn't matter anymore because it's advisory only. The dog catcher has more power. This is what the judge said. The dog catcher actually has more power than an advisory school board member, and votes against allowing the voters to vote, which was a terrible decision. That decision then goes to the get down, Leo. I'm the only cat in this. That decision then goes to the appellate court. The appellate court makes the right decision, say yes, the voters get to decide. In that, Frank Moran and really, I mean, I got to say, most of the Democratic establishment were for the mayor appointing all people to the school board. Now, with that said, I'm gonna break some news because I'm tired of this shit. One of his first appointments is a man who just celebrated his 60th birthday, Angel Cordero. He appoints Angel Cordero, but Angel Cordero, because of his background, for some strange reason, which I don't fully still understand, wasn't able to pass the state's background check. The mayor has had a struggle of appointing people to positions that actually want to do the job, take the job seriously, and do it with the intensity that they should do it. Now, he's appointed some great people. He appointed Nabi Nelson to the school board. Nabi Nelson is a good person and a good school board member. But he's also appointed people who didn't really want the job, who weren't up for the job. He's now appointed a person to the school board whose name I will not say out of respect to this person. Although I mean, Keith Benson already talked about who the person is, so I guess I could say it. But he appoints people that puts other people in political predicaments that they don't deserve to be in. that people have conflicts of interest. He has not built new leadership. He came to a group of young Democrats and makes a speech to these young Democrats saying that the only thing that matters to me is loyalty. Loyalty, loyalty, loyalty. Oh, I think Kendrick Lamar came up with that. I thought I just did. Loyalty, 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 loyalty. He walks out the room, and the people that he thinks are with him are like, well, loyalty to what? You? What? I want to be loyal to good practices. I want to be loyal to good ideas. Very few people younger than me involved in politics are just going to be loyal and follow whoever it is, including America, blindly down the path, God knows going where. I'm not sure if he ever knew that those young people were offended, but they were. And I know it because they told me, and I would have been offended too. But this is what happens when you're not secure in who you are as a man, when you're not secure in who you are as a leader. You call on people to be loyal instead of presenting yourself as a person that deserves respect. If I'm a man and I deserve respect in how I carry myself and how I speak and how I care for other people, I don't need to beg people for loyalty. The loyalty comes in building a relationship with people that's built on mutual trust and understanding. All right, I'm gonna go into, so that's a great part of the legacy, I agree. Thank you to everybody that is tuning in. Just breaking news, just released by Camden City Democrats, Sheriff Whip Wilson and Councilman Angel Fuentes praise Mayor Frank Moran's service. And can we get a drum roll? And endorse Councilman Vic Carstarfin for mayor. All my audience, real quick sidebar. You know, I told your friends this. I'm talking to my friends. You know, I told your friends this the other day. That saying Camden is on the rise thanks to the decades of leadership provided by Frank Moran. Today, Camden. Wait, where's the line? I'm sorry. Let me read this, guys. Frank Moran, Sheriff Whip Wilson, Camden City at large, Angel Fuentes offered praise for Moran on the announcement that Moran will not seek re-election this year due to health concerns. Sheriff Wilson, so this says the mayor will not seek re-election. That's different than he resigned. All right, let's see what this says. Sheriff Wilson and Councilman Fuentes also offered their enthusiastic support for Ward 2 City Councilman Vic Carstarfin to run for mayor and called the entire Camden City Democratic Committee to join them in their endorsement, which, by the way, goes against their bylaws. Like, that's not exactly where they're supposed to do that. But again, that's what I said earlier. They got to pick who's going to run now because they have to get how many signatures? It's probably a couple hundred. They have to get a couple hundred signatures on their petition, and that does take time. So that's happening right now. I'm going to continue to read. Mayor Moran has been at the see. People can't be saying this stuff where they're going to make me laugh. Mayor Moran has been at the forefront of Camden's many recent successes. It's rude for me to laugh at this. I'm sorry. From our groundbreaking community policing reforms, praise Barack Obama, and the amazing turnaround of our school system to luring major companies to relocate to the city and employee local residents. I mean, a lot of stuff happened when Moran was city council president. So you're going to praise anybody, praise Dana Red for it. And so that is, I don't even know what that means. We owe a debt of gratitude to Mayor Frank Moran for his dedicated service to the city and wish him all the best. Sheriff Whip Wilson added, Sheriff Whip Wilson, if you watch the show, you know Whip Wilson has made fun of my hand a few times. He's threatened me. I kind of think the guy's a jerk. I'm so glad. Now, if you all watch the show, I told you that I will make this the Whip Wilson will not run for mayor show. I'm so glad that he is not running. All praises to God. As a city, I take Moran 10 times over Whip Wilson because Moran is somewhat innocent. Whip Wilson can be a monster when he wants to be. Whatever. Anyway, he wasn't a good councilman. He wasn't a good assemblyman. He's not a good sheriff. Nonetheless, this is his quote. Mayor Moran has been a longtime friend and ally. When Whip Wilson calls you an ally, just go like this, make sure you don't have that knife in your back. I know I speak for Councilman Fuentes when I say that the continuity of our success requires strong, dynamic leadership. Whip Wilson did not write this. That's why we enthusiastically endorse Vic Karstafen for mayor. Vic has been a leader in our community going back to his high school days when he led the Camden Panthers to 2 back-to-back state basketball championships, period. Listen, I'm going to say this. I like Vic Karstafen. I know him as a professional. I know him as an accountant. I know that he has his dad has a musical background. He has a basketball background. Can we stop thinking that the only contribution Black men can give in our community is the fact that they used to play basketball? It's an insult. I think it's an insult to Vic, and I think it's an insult to the entire community. I like sports. I know how hard athletes work. I know that Vic was a great coach to the basketball team and all that. But can we like lay off that Vic's popularity is in part because he played basketball? I know that, and I know that that is the pathway to political success in Camden. At the same time, the voters of Camden deserve to hear more of Vic's story and what he brings to the table and what he has to offer. I'm just going to put that out there. We urge our entire Camden City Democratic Party. Okay. Carmen Uberry. Well, that didn't take long for someone to endorse. No, it didn't. And this is Camden. Now, let me, I got some other comments. Would you say Moran's administration in its entirety has been a net gain or loss for the city? It's definitely been a loss. It's definitely been a loss. One of the things I like about living in East Camden is seeing Federal Street, the business community on Federal Street. Federal Street, the Mexican community, the Dominican community, the Puerto Rican community that has those businesses there, and if there are a few Black-owned businesses too, should be an inspiration for what we should be doing on Westfield Avenue, River Road. Oh, excuse me, not River Road, because River Road has a lot of businesses too. Nottingham Avenue. Haddon Avenue does have a decent amount of businesses. Shout out to Haba, PBCIP, Rashawn, and others there. Broadway, especially Broadway. If you want to look at the legacy of a mayor, you don't look at one successful project that was completed. By the way, I can't think of one that was completed. Go look at Broadway. This is what I drove down when I was talking about the mayor in June. Go look at Broadway from the transportation center all the way down, let's say, to Ferry Street. Look to your left and to your right and tell me what you are impressed by. Did this mayor encourage people to buy cheap property in Bergen Square and develop it? No, he did not. Did this mayor encourage us as a community to come and clean up the streets over there? No, he did not. As mayor, did he do anything to help the addicts, the homeless there get into shelter and get back on a pathway to financial success and health success? No, he did not. Issue after issue of what we expect to see as a leader in an urban community that's faced financial crisis, a health crisis, mental health crisis, an addiction crisis, a housing crisis, a pothole crisis, we have not seen. He's the public works guy, right? He came in in 2017, 2018 saying the potholes are going to be filled. They just are in the process of getting funding for this to happen next year in Governor Murphy's additional aid given to municipalities. Am I saying that Frank Moran's job is to get rid of every drug set in Camden? Nope. Am I saying it's Frank Moran's job to personally fill in every pothole? I am not. But it is his job to make sure that when I call his office to give a basic complaint, the lady's not looking for a notepad of how she's going to take my complaint down. And why are you writing it down on a piece of paper anyway? Don't you have a digital system where you're keeping track of this? It's 2021. But see, this is what happens when people think in Camden that we're stupid, that we a bunch of dumb niggas and we don't know nothing. This is how we get treated. And when the winner of elections wins with a 15% turnout and getting 60% of the vote, that means 8% of not our people in our city, but of the electorate. 8% of our registered voters are selecting our next mayor. And that's not okay. The system must change. Elton Custis laid the pathway for how to win. And there aren't a lot of people like Elton around. Elton ran out of the party and shows that popularity helps win. But it can't just be popularity based off of anything. It has to be a popularity that's attached to duty and service. It's how you win. So we now must ask the question, has Vic Karstafen, as a councilman, as a basketball coach, as a businessman, connected himself to service and duty? I honestly don't know, have a great answer to that question. My hope is yes, he has. My guess is that probably. I know that anytime I have talked to Vic one-on-one, I know that anytime I ran into him, I ran into Vic at the pub a couple of weeks ago. I don't really see him that much. Coronavirus, I'm not in his ward, so I don't really need to call him that much. But the few times we've reached out, and I'm gonna tell you why his name is about to come up again. The few times he's reached out, was he responsive? Yes, he was. Does he understand the political dynamics? Yes, he does. Let me tell you something else about Vic Karstafen and Angel Fuentes and Sheila Davis. This is great news. On Tuesday of next week, City Council will do something that they haven't done in a long time, I think, which is pass an ordinance. Stay down there, okay? Pass an ordinance is going to actually have an impact on what's going on in our city. They have been working with Councilman Karstafen, Councilwoman Davis, and Councilman Fuentes. And I've been a critic of Fuentes, but on this one, I think he's absolutely right. And I support him 100%. We Buy Camden ordinance that's going to make it easier for small businesses to become vendors with the city, to apply for bids and contracts with the city. That it's going to be a better, streamlined, more organized, more professional process for business owners. We're the ones that, I have subcontractors from my community. I empower organizations to raise money so they can hire more people from the community. I will be able to have more resources as a business owner when this is done, once this ordinance is passes in a few weeks. This is a good thing. Are there any other comments or anything I should? Okay. So guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you watching. Any feedback that you have, some of you are texting me, most of you are on social media. Let's see what else you're saying here. Okay. I can't. Oh, I wonder. Send me the link. Can you send me the link? Just send it to me through Messenger, and then I'll open it up myself. Y'all seeing. Oh, and by the way, for the people that are like sending me this news and information, I will tell you guys something that you may not know. After every Sunday I do my show, I get at least 2 to 4 calls or texts with people giving me information about things. And I'm gonna tell you something else. I'm gonna tell you this. I have no idea why I'm sharing this, but I'm gonna share it anyway. I am not at all surprised by the timing of Mayor Moran's resignation. I'm not at all surprised by it. Not only am I not surprised by it, but I encouraged it. Am I the only one? Absolutely not. So can I take credit for this? There's no such thing. I'm going hard for my city. I'm going hard for those Mexicans in East Camden and those Dominicans in Kramer Hill and those Vietnamese in this part of East Camden and those Black folk in Whitman Park and Parkside and Centerville, those people live in a low-income housing complex, those people who don't know where they're getting their meal from in a couple of weeks from now, those people don't know how they're going to pay their rent, those people who pray to God but still need a government that's doing their job. This is for them. And whether Vic is our next mayor or whoever it is, we need to pray for this person, pray for their success. We need to hold this person accountable. But we also have to step up as a community and realize that most of the issues in our lives will not be solved by our federal, state, or local government. Start a business. Work with a friend. Volunteer in your community. Voting is not enough. We will not resolve most of the issues in our community simply by going to the voting booth and voting. It takes much more work than that. Go ask Andrew Selby and Justin de Guzman and Elton Custis and Sheila Davis and those other people that were hanging out with Wawa, Tawanda Green Jones at Yorkshire day after day, night after night on a hardwood floor in a cold, chilly room that was warmer than outside. Go ask them what service is like. Go ask them how you change things in our community. Ask me as a person who writes grants and sees the challenges that nonprofit organizations and small businesses have in growing and expanding. This is the work that is upon us. I am not giddy or ecstatic about Mayor Moran's resignation, but I do understand that it may be a very necessary step for us to get to the next level. And I have a message directly from Mr. George Norcross. Mr. Norcross, my fellow Indian, you are the chief endorser of the local Democratic Party. Whether you accept that title or not, it is upon you. I hope you've learned your lesson that loyalty to people you've known for 30 years is not enough to have leadership and decent leadership. And I hope that the people who decide to run recognize that it is the people of Camden that they must ultimately report to in the democracy. And when all of us die, we will be judged by the God that we claim and serve, who will look at us and either say, good job, my good and faithful servant, or get out of my sight, you sinner of iniquity, I never knew you. What is it that you want to hear? I want to hear, good job, my good and faithful servant, that I've been faithful over a few things. That's the duty and the call upon us. When I go outside and I see the amount of trash in my community, I don't look at myself as living in a community of people that litter. I look at myself as living in a community of people who have been traumatized. Most of us are victims of emotional, physical, or sexual assault from our childhood, and that haunts us. And we need a healing. And in that process of where we try to get a healing to be better people, to be better stewards, to be better members of our community, it's so important that we don't have our own local government being just one more barrier. As a grant writer, I talk to people who want to start a business or nonprofit organization. Sidebar, I'm doing a training. You'll see it advertised and probably later today. I'm doing a workshop on Sunday. I think Sunday's the 14th. Sunday the 14th, I'm doing a workshop. Sidebar. Anyway, and in doing the training, I talked to a young lady a few weeks ago, and I was livid. She tells me that she wants to start a business. And I'm not gonna say what the business was because I don't want to identify her, but she didn't actually have the business started yet. She had more of a business concept, a very good concept, but a business concept. She's like, well, I talked to all these people. No one's telling me what to do. Thank you so much. She says, well, I called City Hall and I had to go get this picture I had printed. I had to get a 2x2 picture printed. And I said, a 2x2 picture? Now you may not know, you may not know why this is strange. Why is this strange? Why is somebody at City Hall telling this lady to get a permit? The only reason you need a 2x2 picture is to get a permit. She didn't have a business started yet. She doesn't have a space, a business address, a business name. She's not registered with the state. And yet somebody's giving her, probably that person gave her the information, told her the best thing that person knew. This is some person, as a matter of fact, I know who it is too. This is a person who works in code enforcement, right? Who's never been trained. But also has never taken upon herself to go on YouTube and learn how some of these things work, how some of these systems that she maybe not learned in school, and maybe her job never taught her. She also never took it upon herself to learn either. So she's guessing, muddling through, as we used to say in graduate school. We can't have a government of people who muddle through. Lives will be lost. Businesses will close. Homeowners will lose their property. Renters will go away. Why is it every time I talk to a young person I've known since high school, there's now a college graduate, I'm like talking about Camden. Like, I don't live in Camden. I'm going to LA. I'm going to Atlanta. I'm going to New York. I'm going to Maryland. I'm going to where the opportunity is. I'm going to Philadelphia. I'm going to Pensacola. I'm going to Sicklerville. I'm going to where the opportunity is. I'm going to where the money is. I'm going to where my community gives something back to me. I'm going to a place that I can bring my friends I went to college with and be proud to show them where it is. And I'm not saying I'm not proud to be from Camden. I certainly am. What I'm saying is at 7 o'clock at night, it's slim pickings where I can take somebody out to have a good time. Again, is this Frank Moran's fault as an individual that there's not a lot of cool places to hang out at 8 o'clock? As an individual, no, but he also did not put the pieces together of having experts of economic development and community development and bringing them to the table. Calling upon council to have hearings and discussions about what can we do to expand, to do more, to keep the people that are here and bring in new people. If you truly cared about the city, you wouldn't hire every single person who's only worked in Camden. I've been in New Orleans, Detroit, Chicago, New York, Baltimore. That shit is different in other places. I'm not saying it's great in all things, but there are lessons to be learned from other places that we should be bringing back. Patterson, Trenton, Atlantic City, Newark. If you watch my show, you hear me talk about this all the time. Jersey City. If you look at what Steve Fulop in Jersey City does, not everything, and you look at what Raz Baraka does in Newark, and that is almost everything, you will see some impressive leadership happening in our urban communities right here in the state of New Jersey. I worked in a year-long project in Philadelphia. They are messed up in certain ways. Their best public school looks worse than the Camden school district's worst public school in terms of the physical infrastructure. But there are lessons to be learned from the other side of the river. We have people that came here from the island of Puerto Rico after Hurricane Maria, come to Camden. They were owed a community that is embracing them, that is safe for their children. We had a president that was putting children in cages. We don't need a mayor who thinks that the homeless people don't deserve haircuts. This should be a wake-up call, though, to Angel, to Sheila, to Vic, but also to Curtis. And I'm going to get into this in a second. To Shanika. Probably not so much Shanika. Marilyn. Who am I forgetting? 1, 2, 3. Felicia. This should also be a message to the members of City Council. You got to step it up. You have to impress the general public. I don't know why I keep saying this dude's name, but Elton put up a link on Facebook yesterday of a survey. He's like, oh, where did this come from? I was curious, so I went through the survey, and I did the whole thing. I don't know if you guys saw this, and it's a non-scientific because I don't know if it's scientific or not because I'm not sure where the link came from, but it appears to be a non-scientific survey of getting public opinion on basically the elected officials in the city. The Democratic Party, which is led by mostly folks in Cherry Hill, the Democratic Party is paying attention to public opinion. They also know the numbers of who can win and who cannot win. If you look at the number about how Vic Starfin won in the second ward when he ran for council, and then how his support for his friend, longtime friend, Minister Wasim Muhammad in the school board election, you see that Vic Starfin comes with a lot of political swag and a lot of support. He can get people voting for him that might be crossing over that otherwise may not vote for people within the party. There is a strategy here. And if we are wise, we will analyze the strategy, interpret it how we can, and then figure out how do we as a public, how do we as a community, as residents, as activists, how do we participate in whatever that strategy is so we can develop our own strategy. In a way, I kind of don't really care who the mayor is. I really don't care who the mayor is. What I do care about is it going to be a mayor that's for the people? Is it going to be a mayor that's for us? So that if my house is smoky, I know my mayor got my back. If somebody gets killed down the street, I know my mayor's going to make sure that not only is that murder solved, but the message goes out that this is not what we do in Camden. This is not the way we resolve our problems in this city. I want a mayor that's going to go out to eat and put pictures of it on social media to let everybody know, look, I'm supporting a small business in my own community. At Antioch Baptist Church in the Centerville neighborhood in January of 2018, I awkwardly sat in the back to see the man who I did not support for mayor put his hand on the Bible and take the oath. And I was reluctant, but I was also curious. And in a pretty good speech, Mayor Moran called on all of us to be men, fathers to our children, and to step up in our community. And I was excited. I was glad to hear him say it. There's a message I haven't heard necessarily a lot of politicians deliver. I didn't hear Red and Faison deliver that same message. I was excited. I was ready. And so were my friends. But the call to action never came. The follow-up step was never there. And how many people are going to beg the mayor to help build up the city? People are going to end up figuring out on their own and go in other directions. And that's exactly what's happened. So I hope that there is a domino effect. I think it's very important that the people in the office of the mayor all resign immediately. So I'm calling on you, Vince, first. Vince, motherfucker tried to remove me and my camera from city council chambers a few years ago. Fuck you. Get the fuck out of City Hall, Vince. It's time. Your boss is gone. You need to be gone too. Go back to Collinswood, wherever you're from. You are not good at your job. And Frank's failure as a mayor is in part because of your failure as a communications person. You're a laughingstock to the media. They're all my friends. You don't know how to post on social media, and you don't know how to talk to people, and you're arrogant, and you're not talented. Bye-bye. I'm so tired of these inadequate, unqualified white people taking up spaces that a decent, qualified person from our community could occupy. And that's shame on Frank for doing that, and Vince, it's a shame on you. I love my city, and I will figure out a way to work with anybody, even if we possibly disagree in the past. So if you have any, I want to, there is, I don't know how much, I'm not sure. Okay. What other names are being thrown in the hat besides Vicar Starvin? Well, this is a question in the comments. Well, this is Camden, so there are no other names. That's the name. That's the name. That's the name. At least it's not a bad name. Thorndike and Martin Pike needs to be addressed ASAP for potholes. The whole street is leaning. Like, yeah. By the way, Thorndike and Martin Pike is what? That's less than a quarter mile. That's less than a quarter of a mile from where Frank Moran lives. So it's not like he doesn't know. So when he sits back in that nice ass SUV, this isn't normal. All right, let's see what else we got here. What else we got? What else y'all saying? And I know somebody thinks that maybe something I'm saying is maybe harsh or mean, but I just, you have to remember the trauma that I've been through. I've been shot before. I've been insulted by elected officials who didn't pay any consequences for it. I hear stories from people, and some of the stuff I don't even want to share publicly with anybody, hearing stories from people who work in City Hall, or people out in the community who need good leadership, and how disappointed they are or how much they suffer because of the lack of good leadership. So I'm just gonna look at the comments. I'm gonna look at the comments. Oh, did anybody call in? Okay. I'm gonna look at the comments real quick and call it and then call it a wrap. So let's see what else people are saying. I'm looking on my page. I probably should be looking at the other ones too, just to make sure. Are there any YouTube comments? Or you can't tell? Okay. Here we go. Oh, okay. Here we go. Would you say, this is from one of my friends, would you say Mayor Moran's administration in its entirety has been a net loss or net gain? Oh, I think I answered that. Okay, yeah, I said a net loss. Thoughts about Sean, thoughts about Project Hope. Very interesting question. And this is the types of questions that we should be at, I wish the mayor would facilitate, and things that we can talk about as a community. Where do we find? Project Hope is about balance. Where do we balance the health needs of our homeless population and addicts, and the need that we have for people to get that help where they live in their communities, so Camden doesn't become the dumping ground of the addicts and the poor people from all over the region, because that's not good for our city. So Project Hope has an important role to play. I don't have a great answer to that. I know that if you go there for health care, you're going to get it. What else? So let's pick someone and vote them in. Take our shit back. Yeah, I'm all for it. But I'm gonna tell you guys, this is a city of young adults, and most young adults in the city do not vote. Most people between 18 and 30, literally less than 10% of them vote. If 15% of them voted, it would change an election. But we need a, so this is the key, trust. We need a mayor that says, go get a vaccine, and we trust our mayor, we get a vaccine. We need a mayor that says, social distance, wear a mask, don't have parties under 10, and we do it because of that relationship or trust. We don't trust some of these people because we don't know them. We don't know what they think. We don't see them around. So anyway, it's 4 o'clock. I've been going hard for an hour. I want to thank you for tuning in. I will probably be back on Sunday talking about this again on Urban Disruptors Weekly Wrap Up. I might by Sunday have a few more, tidbits and news. I want to thank my friends who are here with me for helping me out and helping me at such a short notice, keeping me on track and on task. I want to thank you for tuning in, for sharing, for asking good questions, for giving good comments. I like feedback. If I'm saying something that you don't think is accurate, correct, you disagree, I will humbly listen. I always never know if humbly is like you pronounce the H or not. Humbly listen, humbly. It is, you do pronounce the H. I will humbly listen to you and what you have to say. So thank you so much. Pray for me. I will pray for you. Let's build our city. Let's figure out what we're going to do next. And let's keep pushing forward. And that's a wrap. I'll see y'all next time.